welcome to the CrackOn podcast, hosted by me, John Saunders. Crack on! Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the CrackOn podcast, episode 8, hosted by myself, John Saunders. And this week, we've got a cracker, Gary Bagstaff, the MD of Print Source. Good friend of mine. I've known Gary for the last, it's probably 8 to 10 years. And yeah, just an all-round top guy. He's the board member of the International Sign Association as well. There's lots of networking around South Wales. Has had the business for a long time, over 8 years, and just goes through the ups and downs of owning their business. And everyone who's got one understands it. So anyway, without further ado, Gary Bagstaff, crack on. Afternoon, Gary. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, really good, thanks, mate. Yeah, all good. Happy,
good.
Sun shining. Yeah, positive.
Hey, mate, it doesn't shine very often in Wales, so we've got to take it when we get it, don't we?
Exactly that. Yeah.
I've come back to Wales about 4 weeks, and it rained for 3 of them. Do you know what I mean? So
It's been a washout. It's been a nightmare for us doing a lot of outside work. You know,
I bet it's
been
been
a juggle
nightmare.
trying to plan what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that in a second, mate. Right, let's crack on with the first question then. What does crack on mean to you, mate?
Yeah, I had a little think on it. I think to me, crack on means just getting shit done. Really, you know, it's the daily grind. It's dealing with problems and not letting yourself get bogged down and overwhelmed. You know, it's just keep going. Really, I think it's day in, day out for years. You know, just being relentless. Just keep on going. Really, that's what crack on means to me. I think.
Yeah. Well, have you got an example? Have you got an example of a time where you've just had to get on with it? You know, that any moments in your life that you've just had to literally just get up and get on, and you know, a specific time in your life when that's been the case.
Yeah. Personally, there's been things that have happened. You know, and I went through a divorce while I was running Print Source, you know, and I still had a company to run and staff to pay. So, you know, I did have to crack on, you know. Emotionally it was difficult, but you have to set that to one side when you're running a company, and you just have to keep going. You can't take time off. There's shit that needs doing, and you've got to get it done.
That stuff that's still there in the day is still there in the day. So you just got to get it done. And so what was it like at that point, without talking necessarily about the divorce wise, but coming to work with a bit of a, you know, the staff was still looking at you for questions. What was it like?
Yeah, it was difficult. Yeah, I definitely found it difficult to focus. I'll be honest. You know, there's lots of things going on in your head, and it was difficult to focus. But yeah, I needed to keep things going. I had bills, I had responsibilities personally, I've children, you know, and business partner and staff. So you've just got to crack on, really.
Yeah. I wasn't plugging for that saying, but I'm glad you plugged it in there. Crack on indeed. So so the next question then. So have you ever had an idol or mentor in your life that's had has taught you a lot of lessons? If so, what sort of lessons have you learned from that mentor or idol?
I haven't got an idol as such. I've got a good relationship with my best mate, and I definitely admire him. You know, somebody I went through school with, and then he's gone on to set up his own business, and he's so successful. He's a completely different type of person to me, but there's parts of who he is and things that he does and how he goes about his business, you know, that I really admire.
Yeah, what sort of, can you mention names, or can you mention what sort of skills he's got?
Yeah. His name's Liam Mueller. He runs a bike company selling motocross bikes, road bikes, jet skis, farm equipment, anything that's sort of motorized, really.
Brilliant. So he's a proper petrol head, is he?
Oh, big time. So when we were in school, he used to race motocross, always in the top level, you know. So he'd travel all over the country. He'd be racing in inside the Millennium Stadium, or he'd be up racing in Murrayfield doing stadium tours and things like that. So he raced at a high level. But he's always, since we were kids, just had this drive and this self-belief that he's going places, and he always gets what he wants. You know, when we were 17 years of age, he wanted a Vauxhall Corsa SRI. You know, he wanted that car. He
As
wanted
we all did, mate. As we all did, didn't we?
He wanted the neon lights underneath it and the subwoofer in the boot, and he found a way to get it, you know. And he, at that age, he didn't, you know, he didn't come from a bad background, but he wasn't from a wealthy background. So he found a way to get that car for himself, and that's what he's always done, you know. And now he's eyeing up 60-meter long boats, you know, and that's his next thing. But he's bought the £1 million house, and he's got a huge team, and yeah, he's just really doing well. But it's his
what sort of strength, what sort of, you said you learn, and you know, maybe you see him as a sort of a bit of a mentor. What sort of skills has he got then that specifically you've really learned from?
His vision is always been there, you know. He backs himself 100%. He can see where he's going, and he's on it like a laser, you know. He's so focused on where he's going and what he's doing. And you know, he can be a bit harsh, I guess. Sometimes he doesn't take shit from anybody, you know. I've seen him like lose his temper on so many occasions, and you know, that's not me. I'm not that person. But sometimes I look at him and think, yeah, I wish I could, you know, be a bit more like that in some situations, be a bit more blunt and tell it how it is a bit more, you know. But yeah.
And what did you learn from him then? Because obviously, you know, we all learn from everyone, you know. Like I said, I'm the sort of person that learns so much from friends, colleagues. And what's the biggest thing that you've learned from him over time?
I think he's always been really good at outsourcing or getting other people to do the things that he's not good at, you know. So when Print Source started, we maybe had the wrong idea about outsourcing, you know, and our view on things was to try and do as much in-house as we could in terms of saving money with bookkeeping and accounts and all that sort of stuff, you know, and marketing. We try and do everything ourselves to save cost. His way has always been to outsource those things, pay somebody else, let them do what they're good at. I can get on with what I'm good at, which is selling bikes, basically, you know. And if I'm getting enough money coming in the door, I don't need to worry about saving the pennies, you know, because I'm making the pounds. That's his mentality. So yeah.
And you know what, you read so many of these books, don't we, that, you know, that actually, you know, do what you do well, work on your strengths. I mean, there's a lot what you've just said then is exactly that, isn't it? That's what he tends to do. Yeah,
exactly that. Yeah. So yeah, it's working really well for him. So I'm definitely trying to take some lessons from that.
That's good. So have you taken steps for that at all? I mean, we're going to go into Print Source now. Actually, we're talking about Print Source. So what sort of things have you put in place for that?
Yeah, so we have started outsourcing things. We've got an outsourced bookkeeper. We've got a good accountant who gives us good advice. We've got a separate person. We've got a separate person who helps us with a monthly sort of report and meeting that we have, and then staff. Yeah, so we've grown the team to fill the gaps in what we were trying to do ourselves. You know, so in terms of design and admin and in production, installation, we're just trying to fill the gaps rather than my business partner Matt and me trying to wear all the hats, trying to get the work, make the work, install the work, you know, invoice the work, rather than trying to do all those things ourselves. We're slowly getting staff in place to do those things. And yeah, personally, I'm getting better at passing things on to staff members rather than trying to do everything myself. So
yeah, I think, is that a big learning for you then over the last, say, you know, talking about when print, take us back to the day when Print Source sort of started, maybe nearly 11 years ago. You know, what was it like when you started that business up? And talk us through the journey of Print Source generally, because obviously, you know, what it is now today, you know, taking on those clients that you do now take on, you know, talk us through how it all started and where it all started from, eh?
I'll go right back to the beginning. So I worked in the job centre. The job centre is the best place to work if you're looking for a job. So everyone who worked there was looking for another job. You're on the system every day. You're like, what jobs are in today? Can I apply for that myself? You know. So I saw a job advertised as a trainee estimator with a company called Semaphore in Cardiff.
Right.
Thought that sounds good. I'd never been involved in any small business of any sort before that. My experience was call center type corporate work.
Yeah.
Nobody in my family's self-employed. It never crossed my radar at all, not in school. So going to work for this company, I applied for the job and got the job as trainee estimator. So I went to work for Semaphore, and it was the first time I'd been in a small business and really sort of saw that, right, these guys own this company and what's going on here is for their benefit, and it just got me thinking that actually I could do something for myself where I'm responsible for my own earnings and I'm rewarded for my own effort, and it really ignited something in me. So I started there when I was 20. By the time I was 21, I took out a credit card and decided to buy my own large format printer. So I had it in the spare room of my parents' house. I had this 6 foot long printer. And what I was doing was I managed to get myself a stall in Abergavenny Craft Fair. So on a weekend, what I was doing was printing knockoff canvases, Scarface, Banksy, Audrey Hepburn, that type pop art canvas.
Yeah.
My dad used to help me make the frames, and we used to go there and run the market stall. And I did that for a little while, and then people would start asking me if I could print a picture of their dog or their wedding or their kids or whatever. So I started taking orders and doing that. And it sort of evolved from there. I went on a couple of training courses with Venture Wales, how to write a business plan or basic marketing strategies. I had a friend who was a web designer, so he created a website for my canvas business.
Right.
And then I realized that I was lacking in face-to-face sort of customer experience, So I went to the directors of Semaphore and I said, but by that point, a good few years had gone by and I'd worked my way up to office manager and I was responsible for 2 other estimators.
You were doing the canvas stuff on the side, were you?
Yeah, evenings and weekends. Yeah, just
That's
every
cool.
night.
So was it a side fiddle? Was it bringing much in?
Yeah.
It was a side fiddle that.
Yeah, it wasn't very profitable, I'll be honest, but it made me a little bit. And, at that time of my life, if I was earning, I don't know, maybe I was taking home £1,000 a month from my job, I might make an extra 200 or 300 quid selling these canvases, on the market and in the evening. So it was definitely helpful.
It all goes the right way, doesn't it? It all goes the right way.
Yeah. So I spoke to the directors then at Semaphore and said, would there be any possibility of me taking on a sales role and going out to see customers and maybe taking a commission? And at that moment in time, that wasn't the right thing for them, but I knew that it was what I needed. So I handed my notice in basically and found another company that was looking for a salesperson.
Right. That's bold.
I went to work.
Bold, that.
Yeah, it was, I don't know what it was, but it was something I just knew that I needed to do. I knew in the back of my mind that setting up my own business was my end goal, and I knew what I needed to do to get myself ready for that.
Yeah, that's great. That's really interesting, mate, because I think we all get, in our lives, we get callings, don't we? And it's hard to explain it. Like I've literally just handed my notice in very recently to a job that everyone would go, why did you do that? And I said, well, I can't explain it. I can just say to you that it's the right thing for me to do right at this moment,
I think instinct is so important. You've just got to follow your gut, Earlier on in my sign career, I went to see Thomas George estate agents. He wanted some signs doing. And I went to see him for my employer. And while I was there, I got on really well with the guy and he actually offered me a job. Right. And I nearly took it and I nearly went down the route of becoming an estate agent, but there was something that I thought that's not right for me. And I carried on with what I was doing and I'm glad I did now.
Just on that note though, can you remember what it was that sort of, was there anything or anything that stopped you from doing that? Because like I said, I find it really interesting because there's loads of things in my life that I've not quite done. I've taken the first step but never taken the second one. And I always think to myself, what is it about it that stops that?
I think even at that moment, I had self-employment within the sign industry in the back of my mind. You know,
Right.
I'd had the printer and I was doing that sort of thing.
So you already
And
knew without knowing it, your subconscious was telling
yeah,
you where you needed to go.
that's it. Yeah. So
Interesting.
I took this job as a salesman, went there. After 6 months of going there, that company folded. So basically, I had a printer. I had a bit of work, you know, I had a few customers that liked me as a person and I knew that they'd keep me going.
Yeah.
And I was part of B&I as well. So B&I really helped me because I'd joined B&I for this company that I was with for 6 months.
Right.
And everyone in that chapter knew that I had this aspiration to do something on my own. And as soon as that company folded, they all just rallied behind me and they're like, right, now's your time. Come on, let's go. We'll all help you, you know. And it did. They really got me going, you know, just got the first few clients. And at that point I had a credit card and I had enough of an overdraft to pay my bills for 3 months. So my goal was, right, I need to make enough in 3 months to pay my bills in the 4th month, and that was my goal. And it's always just worked out.
It obviously happened because you're sat here now, but
Yeah.
that must have been a really well, it just must have been such an exciting roller coaster that first 4 to 5 months, if not the first 12 months on that road.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but I have always had strong self-belief, you know, when I in a situation and I knew I could make it work. You know, it's just graft and you know, effort and determination. You know, there's no real magic formula as such. It's just doing a little bit more. You know, it's in those early days, it's putting the hours in, contacting people, you know, and doing a good job for people, and asking for help where you need it. And
but the interesting bit you said about your friend that you look up to and you see as a mentor, that laser focus, you must have been laser focused at that point, though, mate.
Yeah, I think I was. So personally, I had I got married when I was 18. I had a daughter when I was 19. So what happened was when my then wife, when she got pregnant, there was a family member on her side who was really strongly advising us to have an abortion. Right. And there was something about that really just rubbed me up the wrong way, you know. And I thought to myself, I'm proving you wrong, you know. I'm gonna give this child a good upbringing, you know. So
everything they need.
Yeah, and that's what made me focused, I think. So I had a daughter when I was 19, then I had a son when I was 23, and they were there. From the early days, they were there, and they were little, and I had to provide for them, and I had to make it work. You know, we had a roof over our heads that needed paying for, and there wasn't any other option really. So you just you find a way.
Yeah, you do find a way, but it's interesting how you knew that you want to be self-employed, but actually the risk factor that comes with being self-employed and building your own is higher than being paid a wage at the end of the month, isn't it? And it's interesting how I find it fascinating how people like myself and you are in that same ilk that we were never going to put them at risk, but always you've always got to be, you're going to work that little bit harder because you know everything's going to come back to you.
Yeah, that's it. When your back's against the wall, you always find a way, don't you? And that's the thing. And that's the thing that over the last few years has maybe changed a little bit for me, because I've become a little bit comfortable, you know, which isn't a good way to be. So recently, within the last sort of, I don't know, the last 6 months, I guess, really made some changes to get that spark back, you know, and to feel like my back's against the wall a little bit more. And to feel like
and so you're in with a partnership. So a bit about the business and how's that worked out? You know, obviously it's been a long-standing relationship, so it must be going really well. But how do you both complement each other?
So I met Matt, my business partner, when I worked in the company for 6 months. Didn't know him before that, so I'd only known him for a short space of time.
Right.
But I could instantly tell that he had skills that I didn't have, you know. What happened was we both left that business. I set up Print Source, and Matt set up on his own doing a few. He was a small format printer, so he looked after business cards and flyers and that sort of thing that I didn't know about. So if I got anything along those lines, I'd pass it to him and vice versa. I had a weekend away, and while I was away, I asked Matt to look after a few things for me, and it worked really well. And when I got back, we just sort of sat down and said, why don't we just team up? We can help each other, support each other. And I think we both saw in each other things that we didn't possess ourselves. Matt is an absolute stickler for detail and planning and organization, and I just don't have those skills, to be honest. But Matt doesn't like being customer facing necessarily, and selling and networking and doing those sorts of things. So we formed a good team, and it's worked so far. So yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. That's great, mate. That's great. And then what we spoke earlier on, and we've had previous conversations about highs and lows in business. How have you found the roller coaster the last? We're going to say just with print source, but how have you found the roller coaster over the last sort of 11 years within the business?
There's always something. There's never. You can't get comfortable, and there's always something that happens, a mistake, a problem, something being out of stock, a staff issue. There's just always something being thrown at you, and it always comes when you don't expect it. And I think you're saying of CrackOn, is just, it is what it is. You just have to take these challenges and keep going forward. COVID did really worry me in the early part of that. When that first hit, it did really worry me. I'm not normally one to worry, to be honest, and I'm not normally one that struggles to sleep. I normally sleep pretty soundly, to be honest. But last sort of March, April time, I really struggled. I was planning who we'd make redundant, in what order, how we'd really scale down the business, and I was planning it all out in my mind about how to protect the company, basically, and it wasn't nice. But we were lucky, we made some changes, and we kept everybody on, we kept everybody paid. We managed to pick up good COVID-related work, and it saw us through. So
when you started planning, though, I mean, COVID has hit and affected everyone, positively or negatively.
Yeah.
Would you say that it's been a, I know whenever I talk to someone that's been done quite well out of the COVID bit, everyone says, well, I don't like saying it, but ultimately, whatever happens in any sort of crisis, there's always winners and losers, and there's no getting around that. And ultimately, would you say that it's been quite a positive impact on the business and yourselves?
Yeah, it has been positive for us. Initially, scared the life out of me, but once we actually got into it, we picked up some really good contracts. And yeah, financially, we've had a good year.
What mindset? You said at the beginning, I suppose the first bit was worry and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But obviously from then, you must have engaged in something to get that really good year out of you. So the business stuff.
Yeah, we did. So what we did was we knew that our normal work had instantly dried up. A lot of our customers are universities and councils and leisure facilities, places like the Millennium Centre or University of South Wales, when they just shut and they weren't ordering anything. But we knew from the off that there was a big need for COVID signage, for floor stickers, keep your distance, and acrylic screens and that sort of thing. So what we did was we created a booklet of pre-designed items. This floor sticker, that floor sticker, this acrylic screen, this roller banner that says keep back, or wash your hands. And we put a little booklet together with all these items in it, set prices, order codes, made a little order inquiry form to go with it. And we sent it out to our customer base. And the response was brilliant. We had so many orders coming in. It just really kept us going. But then the absolute sort of gem in that situation was that we had a customer, a facilities management company that were responsible for regional serviced offices, and they're responsible for 200 sites of Regis serviced offices. And they asked us if we could tailor this booklet and order form for them so that they could send it on to Regis. So we did that. It went out to these 200 sites, and the orders were just incredible, and it was a different type of work to anything that we'd done before. Normally our work is very bespoke. We go out to a site, we measure, we produce visuals, we quote, quite a long-winded process. But this was like, I'll have 50 of those stickers, please. I'll have 10 of those, I'll have 5 of this.
Give me as many of them as you can give me.
Yeah. We were just pressing print on pre-done stuff. We were putting it in a box and sending it out in a courier.
Surely it's going to be a strapline, isn't it? Just press print, surely.
Yeah. That's what a lot of people think we do, but that's what we were doing at that moment in time, was just pressing print. Yeah. So.
Sorry, mate. That's what you did. Sorry, that's my bad.
Yeah. It was really good for us, and in those early days we had staff on furlough, but that type of work was work that my business partner Matt and me could manage ourselves. Yeah. There wasn't a lot of we didn't need estimators or sign fitters or anything, we were just running the printers and getting the work out the door. So, yeah, basically, yeah.
Well, it's funny because I did an interview that comes out just prior to yourself with a guy called Luke Ralph, and we spoke about a very good friend of mine and my ex-boss actually, called Bruce Beattie, and he used to have this saying, when a door closes, you've got to open another one.
Yeah.
And that is a prime example of that, isn't it? COVID closed the door on lots of your accounts, didn't it? Close you down, bang, not opening the doors, and I'm not paying any invoices. So at that point then, that's when the business starts retracting. But what you did was just open another door, mate. Yeah,
definitely. And I'm glad we did, because there's a lot of companies that I know of that still haven't recovered, sign companies doing exactly the same thing as us before COVID.
Yeah.
They didn't adapt to that current market, and now they're not in a good place at all, or have closed. So
totally agree. I mean, and my feelings on it, I don't know what your view was on it, but I mean, I'm dealing with a couple of bars now that kept going. They did takeaways, they did whatever. I tell you what, the trade they've got now is they've kept themselves in the public eye. They've kept the money coming in. And they've done things that other people haven't done. And I'm finding those bars that have really roughed the businesses that have kept going through that tough time, I think they're going to now see in the rewards. Do you agree with that?
I do, yeah. I can see it. I quite like the botanist in Cardiff. I'm not sure how you feel about them, but I've seen them throughout the pandemic on social media, just keep plugging away, and now I can't get a table there.
He's an animal on social, mate, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, but you can't get a table there.
Jay Page is a top boy. He's a top lad. He's the man about Cardiff, isn't he?
I don't know him, but social media wise, he's on my page every day. So yeah.
No, he's very good, mate. Very good. And I think, like you say, though, with businesses like yourself, it is, it is that one door closed, one door open. And I bet it has felt that way. But you've now got the opportunity to take both doors, haven't you? Because things are starting to reopen.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. We've had a real surge in work over the last couple of months now. Businesses reopening, people going back to quotes that we did 18 months ago. So they haven't died. They haven't disappeared. They just got parked, and now people are revisiting those. And then there's new inquiries. There's been great help from local authority, so people getting grants for things, for improvements of outdoor spaces. It's been really good,
But what it's actually done, in my opinion, again, looking at and reading people articles, it's just accelerated what should have happened. So like you just mentioned, then outdoor spaces. Well, what Cardiff did was say, right, what do we do? Those plans were made for 5 to 10 years time, and they just went, right, let's do it now, and they pulled them forward. And you can only look at it and say, bloody fair play to them.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and without that help, I think everybody would be in a dire straits at the moment, But
I agree. And with a bit of this is about sort of mental health and the individual. So about you. So how have you got through, the time of COVID and mental health wise? What have you got any sort of ways that you've kept yourself? Have you got have you done anything specific, mate?
I I don't think so is the honest answer. You know, in the early days, it did stress me out. But then when we adapted and
so there must be the point where when I met you, you looked like as though you've been to the gym a few times. You sort of doing a bit more walking, a bit more fresh air.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's that. So where I live, is in the countryside, and we were out every day. The weather last year was incredible, so we were out a couple of times a day, making the most of the exercise, and taking the dog out, doing a bit of running again. So yeah, that did keep me going. We also, my wife and me, we moved into a new house just at the end of 2019, and it was a real shithole. Basically, it was a doer-upper. So when we did, Print Source did close for a month, and then we started sort of just Matt and me popping in a couple of times a week. But for that period, there was a lot of DIY that happened. So yeah, that.
Well, my wife asked me, I've got two left hands, mate, so she doesn't ask me twice.
Right, fair enough.
That's good.
Yeah.
So what about that? So talk me through the future then. So, where's the future for you guys, and where's Print Source going, and how's it? Where do you see the future lying?
Yeah, I think I don't keep an eye on the competition in terms of feeling like competitive. I keep an eye on the competition to see what the market trends are and where things are moving.
What are the market trends in your world?
So I think for me that there's two at the moment. The one that I've seen mainly in England, sort of London, Manchester, Bristol-based companies seem to be moving more towards offering a complete service. So right through from initial design and brand creation through to interior design and fit out, signage, a turnkey solution, I think is the term that gets used. But just
the lingo, isn't it? It's turnkey solution.
Yeah, that's it. So one company, one contact that you can go to who can completely manage that process for you. And we've done a bit of that. We've had a couple of customers from up north. So Ribble Cycles opened a shop in St David's too, and when they did that, they're based just outside Preston, and they asked us, can you supply kitchen equipment? Can you get us a microwave and plates? And our staff need a ladder and all these sorts of things, painting and decorating, flooring. Can you manage all of that for us? And of course, your first answer is yes, and then you just figure out a way to do it. And that's what we did for them, and it worked really well. And they were obviously appreciative of the service that we offered. So it's just expanding on that then. So adding in the branding element of it, and the creative input. So that's something that we're working on at the moment. The other big market trend that I've seen now is just a huge push towards sustainability and carbon footprint. So print and signage in general.
And is that something that you guys are taking on board?
Definitely, yeah. So we've just got the accreditation of ISO 14001, so the environmental standard. Brilliant. So that was something we were really keen to get, just to show that we are positive about making changes, and we are on a road to improving. So that's down to printers, so upgrading printers to new water-based inks rather than solvent inks, trying to offer customers options for materials. In the past, if somebody asked for a PVC banner, we'd offer them a PVC banner, but now we'll offer them the PVC banner and we'll offer them the eco alternative, and at the moment there is a price difference in that, but for some customers they care as well, and price isn't the main priority in what they're doing, so they will go for that option.
Yeah, it's interesting how people are shifting towards that, and it's such a, in the world, we all know the world's, it's such a massive topic at the moment. It's not going anywhere, and you guys are quite at the forefront of that. That actually you could have quite a big impact and dent on that, can you, going forward?
Yeah, definitely. And from a sort of selfish perspective, putting the company first, I think for us, the companies that do care about sustainability and less about price are the exact type of customers that we want to work with. We don't want to work with customers where, we don't want to work with people where price is their only consideration, so
No, I love that. And I think it's, what I get from your company and you, Gary, all the way through is quality, and and I'm saying that quite openly because I firmly believe it, that your business and you as a person is all about quality, and that's what you put on the plate, mate, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we want people to come back to us. We want people to recommend us. I'm not in it for the money. I'm not really motivated by money, to be honest.
Okay, so what are you in it for?
I like helping people, I know they're paying me, but I'm helping them with their business. If we can create a great sign for a shop, and that's going to attract customers for that person, and help them, then that gives me a good feeling. If somebody's really pleased about the work that we've done for them, then that means a lot to me. So
we're going to come up with 3 non-negotiables in a minute, mate. Actually, so that's a good, because that one is one of them. It's your values.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but I think
values. So
doing a good job.
Before we get into the final 3, because it's been fascinating to talk through the journey and everything so far. I always give people the chance. If somebody were sat there and wanted to reach out to Gary, how would they do that? How best to contact you, mate?
Social media, LinkedIn. I'm pretty on LinkedIn. I guess that'd be great. Email gary@printsource.co.uk. Or just give me a call. Yeah, website. Yeah, printsource.co.uk. That'd be great. Yeah. If we can help in any way, get in touch. I'm not a salesman. I'm not looking to force anything on anybody. So, if somebody's got something we could help with, give me a call. Yeah. If we can't, I'll be straight. I
always give everyone a chance to plug it in, mate, because it's about you and your journey so far, So let's go into the 3 last ones then. This is an interesting question. So the 3 non-negotiables to get into Gary's world, what are they?
I think the number 1 for me is to treat everyone as an equal. I hate it. It really gets under my skin when people speak down to me, or like I'm beneath them, and I would never do that to anybody. So in my mind, I am no better than anybody else on this planet, but nobody is any better than me. Might be richer or stronger or smarter or any of those things, but they're no better than me. They've just had a different life. But that's the main thing.
Doing a book at the moment, the Bernard, and he talks about egos and people who have got egos and people who haven't, and people who say is lonely at the top. And actually, if you've got a team around you, it should never be lonely at the top, because it's part of who you are. But the ego part of that, I feel that from you, that actually there's no ego with yourself, and actually anyone who has got an ego, I think you struggle with her.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I get it. I understand sports people and people in roles of authority. They need to believe in themselves 100%, but you still don't need to sort of speak down to people. You can think that you're the best in the world or whatever you do, but that's it in your one speciality, I guess. So
I love that. I love that.
That's the number 1.
2.
Yeah, I think be a problem solver. I hate people that just find the negative in situations. Oh, the world's going to end. Let's shut the doors. What are we all going to do? Start looking for another job. I can't stand that. There's an issue. Every business gets them. What are we going to do about it? How are we going to solve this problem? There is a way to solve it. Every problem we've had in the past, we've solved. How are we going to solve this one? So that's definitely number 2.
Yeah, it's great. In NLP, right? So my NLP background, that's called cause and effect. And what you're either cause or you're effect. And effect is getting on and getting something done and proactive. The cause element is those people that drown in and really look at it in a negative way. And you're definitely effect. You're definitely in that world of trying to make it happen. And that's why you lead your team like you do.
Yeah. Oh, it's just not needed again. Something's happened. It's happened. There's nothing you can do about it. Let's sort it out. Let's crack on and get it done.
Let's crack on and get on with it, mate. Right then. So let's crack on to number 3. Number 3 non-negotiable to get into Gary's world.
I think ask for help. Something that I've not always done, you know, in personal and in business situations. You know, there's people out there that have had the same experience as you. Ask people for help, you know, just run that past somebody. I've got this staff issue, you know, I've got this problem at home, whatever it is, you know, just ask. I think there's a lot you can learn from
like
others.
you've got a big network of people around you. We spoke about our networks between us, and do you
Mm.
find your network being a big support on that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So there's certain things that crop up in life and in business, and I know within my network who I can call on to best give advice on that situation, you know, and having a good network of people around you is definitely a bonus and a good thing to have.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Right then. So, what's the biggest life lesson you've had so far?
I struggled with this one, I'll be honest. I think for me, something that really resonated with me and did have an effect on my life was reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Right. Okay.
That was the first business book I'd ever picked up, and it was given to me by a customer. It was given to me by a guy called Teo, who ran a Malaysian restaurant called Jalan Malaysia. And we did a job for him. I'd never met the guy before, but I really hit it off with him. And he told me about this book and how it had a good effect on him. And he actually bought me a copy. And I read it, and it just, you know, something in that book hit home to me that, you know, what you set your focus on and what you set your mind to, you will achieve, you know. And there were parts of that book that I could sort of already see things that had happened in my past, you know, like I said, about starting the business, you know, and having that laser focus. And I think that, that book really hit home with me that you can have whatever you want, but you need to put effort into it, and you need to think about it day and night, and it will come, you know. And it got me on the path of reading. I'd never read before that, I'll be honest. Never really interested in self-improvement, but that book was the start of a journey now that I'm constantly listening to podcasts and Audible and reading a hardback book, you know, all business related. I'm not into fiction or anything like that, but anything to do with business or self-improvement, I'm all over now. So yeah.
What are you reading now then, out of interest, for my own benefit? What are you reading now?
I'm reading I think it's called Sexy Millionaire by Steve Barrett. Yeah, it's
is it good?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. There's a little plug as well, because I'll have a look at that later on as well. That's a good
yeah. So he's the guy that's just got a place on Dragon's Den. He's going to be the youngest ever dragon.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's he's one for the podcast, mate. He's one for the podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
Last question then, mate. If you could go back and speak to, let's say, a 16-year-old Gary, what would you say to the Gary back then? And the question I always follow up with, would he have listened?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think something I would say is be more vocal, you know, speak up in a situation, you know, don't shy away from saying something negative or potentially upsetting, you know. If it needs saying, it needs saying. Yeah. That's something that I was never good at, you know, and still struggle with now, if I'm honest, but I'm trying to get better at that. And the other thing is just keep backing yourself, you know. I've always done that, and just keep going with that, you know. If you've get a thought and you really think it's the right thing to do, then do it.
Yeah, I love that. And then do you know what, mate? All that mapping of all that mapping of your life, and how you've got to, you know, that bit when you said that you just sort of, and you noticed and went, that for me is the starting point, isn't it? That's the catalyst of, you know, those people who are willing to do that without really understanding the consequences, but back themselves. I think there's so much value in that, isn't there?
Yeah. I think I don't really think about it too much, but speaking about it now openly, I think that was, it was a brave thing to do, you know. And it didn't seem like that at the time to me. It just seemed like the thing I had to do, you know. But
I love it. And if anyone's doing that, they, you know, my advice and your advice, I think, come together. And, you know, if you've got the feeling to do it, just bloody do it.
Yeah, that's it.
Crack on.
I agree, definitely.
Hey, mate, all I can say is massive thank you for taking the time this afternoon to being on. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I really enjoyed reconnecting with you as well, which is, I'm sure, will continue. I wish you all the best in everything you do, Print Source and beyond. But thank you ever so much, mate, and crack on.
Yeah, great. No, I appreciate you asking me. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Cheers, Gary. Have a good one, mate.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
So there we go. Yeah, do you know what? Gary was really worried about how and what I really loved about it, he got himself out of his comfort zone. So many people I've invited on the podcast have just not wanted to do it quite straight, not comfortable in that public environment, not also very sort of outwardly happy to talk about it themselves. And what was really good about it was that he really came out of himself. And I thought, he's a great guy, comes across really, really well. Such a lovely guy that if you want, if you've got any signs in the South Wales area and beyond, get in touch with him, because he's a really good guy and he's always willing to help. I think that's the important thing with anything in business. He's always willing to collaborate. He's all about working together. I just think, like I said, he's a great one. So I hope you all enjoyed it. On to the next one, episode 9, Laura Evans on the next show. Nearly at the end of the series. So we got 12 in this one, and then we're kicking off in series 4 with an exciting new development, a new sponsor. So can't wait to share that. But anyway, have a great day. Crack on. Crack on.